Welcome back to the Hopkins Experience, a channel that gives you unbiased political analysis and honest personal opinions. On this video today, we are going to look at the state of women leadership, and I'm discussing this having in mind the fact that we have our first female dictator from Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan, aka Idi Amin Dada. In the same time, we'll also be looking at Wavinya, the Machakos governor, and also we'll be looking at Gladys Wanga. I'm intentionally looking at the worst of it all because for the three I've mentioned, you will know that these three women are among those powerful women figures that are being looked upon in the political space. So I'm looking at women leadership and the situation, the current situation, the current state of women leadership, and looking at just three ladies who are in political spaces. Samia Hassan being the president of Tanzania, Gladys Wanga being the governor of Homa Bay and the chairman of ODM party, and Wavinya being the governor of Machakos. So, if you've been here for quite some time, let's say in the past 10 to 20 years, we've been having this push to have women get to the table. We've been pushing for gender equality for quite some time, saying that it's a good thing to have women being part of the choices that we have. And most arguments that we've been having is that women are better leaders than men, that they can lead better, they can do better than what we've been doing. And it was coming at a point when we had men dominating positions of power, including being parliamentarians, being DOs, DCs, using when I'm using the Kenyan setting, DOs, DCs, presidents, ministers. Most of these positions were being held by men, and there was a very huge exhaustion of dominated male opinions and a way of leading the country, or the way of leadership. And women have come in very strongly, and this push over the last 20 years has given women the ability to even vie for the highest positions, not only vie but also win. We've seen so many women winning governor seats in Kenya, which is like a PC, or a provincial commissioner in the previous constitution, or in the previous Kenyan system, it was unheard of in very far. But for now, women are getting into these positions, and we can use those who are there to evaluate how they are leading in these powerful positions. If you see, let's start with Wavinya Ndeti. We've seen her leadership in Machakos, and over the past 4 years, we've seen what she has been doing there. And if you tell me to rank Machakos County, you've seen there has been corruption there. There has been embezzlement of funds. We've seen her being caught in scandals. Remember, there was a case where she was alleged that she was caught with nearly 200 million in London. So there have been cases of corruption for Wavinya Ndeti as the governor, and at the same time she has been grilled in the Senate, and it has exposed the rot in Machakos on how she has been running the county. At the same time, if we go to Gladys Wanga, being the governor and the governor of Homa Bay at the same time, the ODM chair, so it gives her more responsibilities compared to Wavinya Ndeti. So she has a party to run. She also has a county to run. We have seen her on ODM roof, on ODM, in her ODM role, trying to push for the broad-based government. The brokerage of power and political conmanship that has been rampant among the men in this country can be seen also coming in women. Her being very cozy with the president politically, ignoring the plights that Kenyans have, tells you how much influence, how much power clouds even women. If you compare the Gladys Wanga, who was in parliament for the past 10 years, and the governor who has been there for the past 3 years, they are two different people. Even on how they speak about constitution, on how they are messaging their views to people, on how they are checking the government, there's really been wanting. At the same time, the cases of corruption have also been seen to Gladys Wanga. Her reign has not been clean compared to somebody like the Moranga governor, Irungu Kangata. So, if you are using Irungu Kangata as the gauge, Gladys Wanga does not fall there in terms of county leadership. In terms of politics, she behaves the same way men have been behaving when they're in these positions. So it begs the question: as women are coming into power, are they coming to maintain the status quo, or are they coming to bring a different breed? Because if you are having women also coming in, we've seen even the proliferation of goons, the commanding of goons, being done even by women who are also in these positions. I'm just using these three as an example. I'm not going. I'm not saying that's how women behave. I'm just using them as an example, and even for that reason, a bad example. No, there are good examples of women leadership, but I'm looking at this one specifically for the bad example. It is not there's nothing now fancy you can tell women about them. Maybe just the courage to go for political seats, but the overall performance has been equal to those men who have been criticized. It's just same or even worse. Yeah, even worse, because there's this notion. I saw Gladys Wanga's speech. I think it was in Kasipul campaigning for a candidate in the by-election, and he was telling them that if you don't elect an MP who does not support, who is not in good terms with the governor, then the people in the constituency will not get development. That first of all, she's lying. It doesn't. The constitution does not. It does not even envision something like that. You are supposed to get development regardless of your political leanings. Yeah, politics is just a game, but it should not affect the development and distribution of resources to the people. You cannot be punished for your choice. You made your choice, and that's it. That's what we call political freedoms. And so she has that tendency of being as cozy and as cunning as men. Now, the elephant in the room, that is Samia Suluhu Hassan, the female dictator. She has all the powers of a president. I think it was one of those golden opportunities that had been presented to Samia Suluhu Hassan to show that women leadership would be different. Women leadership would be an option to what men have been doing in the past, or what we've been accusing men of. However, I can even tell you that Ruto is much better than Suluhu, because despite the protest, despite the finance bill protest, the reject finance bill protest in Kenya, our internet was still on. Communication was not switched off at all. Maybe a little bit the tampering was there, but it was not as dark as it is. The killings were not as open as they are. Yeah. Of course, they were open. On the killing part, there was that the parliament shooting. There was what, but this man hunting people into their homes, rounding them up and killing them in the streets, finding people who are innocent in their homes and shooting aimlessly, with the idea of inflicting fear to them. It's something we did not anticipate from a woman. When I describe these scenarios, when I describe what is going on in Tanzania, you might think I'm talking about a male leader. No, it's a female dictator who has come in and who has used her position badly to inflict pain into the Tanzanians who are trying to fight for their rights, who are trying to bring change to their country, and in a good way. They just want political freedoms, and having a bad constitution does not mean that now you follow the bad things that what is bad is bad. For example, rigging is bad. Don't rig. It would have been better for Suluhu to count whatever was announced or whatever was voted in, even if it was 1 million votes, and declare herself president, or allowed to be declared over, because she already won. There was no need of putting the 98% on paper. You just read what was there, what you got. There was no need of pushing, using the killer squad, the police and civilians to go out there and hunt Tanzanians like dogs. Had Tanzanians like they hunting them like wild animals. Yeah. And these are people you want to lead. How can you lead the people who you are hurting? How can you lead people who you are using bullets on? It beats logic to force yourself on people like that. And it is even worse coming to a woman. I'm saying this because most people have associated women with warmth. I've associated women with love, with care, with empathy. And we've always said that the female gene is the gene of nurturing, and not just but nurturing for the next generation and for the better. We've never seen women killing. It's bizarre to see women kill. You know, for men, we might have those fights, we might have wars that require male soldiers to go in there. But even most of the commands are men. We've seen, even in the recruitment of police, there was a statement that was made that they don't want female police because they cannot handle the intent. They want the male people who can be sent in. But we've never seen a woman, and it's not even normal in character, to see a woman get out that strong and push a country to the brink. It is much better to what we've envisioned women to be. This loving, part of us, the part that many don't have. Maybe we are a little bit brutal, a little bit masculine, a little bit rough. But the softness, the tenderness, the slow talk, the welcomeness from the women, that comes in to blend the two. So if you are thinking that female leadership would be way softer, would be listening, would be empathetic, would be people-centered, would be community-based, then we were wrong. We were wrong. If this system is just wrong, then and power, when power comes to anyone, So for now, we can say, we used to say power will ruin men, but it doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman. If power and money are presented to you, there's a possibility that it will change, and change for the worse, unless you have a very huge restraint, a very huge self-discipline and purpose to serve. But if you are there for the earthly things, for earthly power, and not heading up to the higher purpose of changing people's lives, of leading people to the right direction, of protecting life rather than killing, then we'll have a better leadership. So even when we're going up to 2027, gender should not be part of your ticking boxes. Your behavior, your character, how those are the things that your qualification are what should be on the ballot. That's what you should be looking in those people, not their gender, not their tribe, not their, because anybody can change and be anything depending on their character. If you look keenly on how they behave, you look keenly on how they are, no matter who they are. If you look at their behavior, we'll know this is not going to be a good person in the future. And it is up to us to, and at the same time, our systems have to be there enough to check that people do not exceed their limits. If you are a leader, there is a limit you're supposed to reach, and when you get that limit and want to exit, there is a court to help you in this other thing. There's a solution to find, rather than being the brutal people you are. Yeah. So the situation of women in leadership, especially looking at these three women, tells you that there's something beyond gender. The quality of leadership goes beyond gender, and women are as evil when it comes to leadership and power, same to men. Their capability to misuse power, to overreach, and cause chaos is just as equal as men, or even much worse, if Samia Suluhu is something, is the case to go by. So I'll leave it at that. I'd love to hear your feedback and your comments on state of human leadership, especially looking at these three. Of course, I look for a good leaders in future videos to discuss in this video. But today I just want to get these three who have been in the headlines in the last week, the past week or so. So that's it for now. Let's meet in the next video.